evening, listeners. I welcome you to another episode of Divash's The Love Express, coming straight to you via BHF Radio. And listeners, this is your passport to that romantic hour of the day when you've done all of your duties and you can sit back, relax, and tune in to your beloved. Your beloved could be BHF Radio, or your beloved could be that person whom you share your romance with. This show explores the mood, the romanticism, the music of the inner depths of the heart. Hence, the show is called The Love Express. And it is with this that I would like to introduce my guest presenter on this show, who will be co-presenting going forward every Sunday evening between 11 o'clock and midnight. I'd like to introduce Hetal Sidpura. Hetal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine.
I will be now sharing some opinions with Hetal over coming weeks as to what a female perspective of this core emotion of love is. Hetal, proud to have you on board.
Oh, it is wonderful. Love is something which everyone and all of us can connect to. So I think it's one beautiful opportunity where I will be talking to all of you along with Divash and try to talk to all our listeners as to how more wonderful and beautiful this journey can be. And we'll try our best to get all your stories also to us, which we can give it to our listeners.
Now tell me something, Hetal, as a starting point, and I'm sorry I have to ask you this. Yeah. What's your interpretation of this core emotion called love? Because I've given my opinion over the last fortnight, and it's actually been really interesting with the feedback. But I'd like to hear what your perspective on this whole concept is.
Love is something which is very deep emotion, and it leads to two different hearts. It is just not between a male and a female, but love has various different angles and various different relationships that goes into it. But it's merely the deep feeling of being connected to somebody emotionally is love, according to me.
And it's really interesting that you say this, Hetal, because like I mentioned to our listeners last week, the core concept for me is that spiritual peace. And one feels that within music, one feels that within devotion and prayer. But when one is with their beloved, so to speak, or that person that gives the opposite person that feeling of peace, satisfaction, that feeling that nothing matters, I personally believe in that. And being the true romanticist that I am, I'm still 44 years down the line, I guess, exploring that emotion. Have you ever fallen in love yourself, Hetal?
Of course, yes. I think I have fallen in love many times.
Wow.
Not just once, of course. But don't get me wrong. I have fallen in love with my mom, my dad, my brother, my best friends, of course, my husband and my children. Oh my God, I love them the most. And I think every mother can connect to that. You know?
Absolutely. And more importantly, see, I mean, you are talking from a very wide perspective of love towards everyone. I'm talking purely about love for the beloved. And at the same time, I guess that's what happens when, when you are a true romanticist, I guess, right? But I think that the last two episodes were quite intense, and that was just me testing the water to start off. And the last thing I want to do is bring our listeners on that intense mood. Hence the reason it's good to have you on board, just to have that lighter element of love. And if I explain my journey at college, at school, I must have fallen in love with females 100 times. Chase after a girl and she rejects me, and I'm like, this is not good. And then I listen to the songs of Dil, of Ashiki and that, and the romantic ones, and then the next day you think, it doesn't matter. And then you meet somebody else, and it was just more an infatuation, if anything. I guess then, once when one matures, you explore that concept, you have long-term, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, and, you start getting an understanding. But I was looking at an Instagrammer the other day, and this is going to be interesting for our listeners because he describes that one falls in love 3 times in life. I'm talking true romantic love, not love towards parents and children and that.
But 3 times.
The first time, it's the concept of what you take from love. It's your perception. It's that kiddie romance type of thing. And then the second time, it's that love that tests your patience. And sometimes you can end up heartbroken from it. It damages you. It's a very big emotional vacuum. Mm-hmm. And then you have the third love, which comes from the universe. It just seems perfect, and that's because you've tried and tested the concept.
Oh yes.
So that's my starting point in this show. Listeners, I'd like to present the first song to you. I hope you enjoy it, and then we'll be back exploring this great concept called love on your very own BHF radio. This is the Love Express.
मुझको इतना बताए कोई, कैसे तुझसे दिल ना लगाए कोई। रब्बा ने तुझको बनाने में कर दी है हुस्न की खाली तिजोरियां, काजल की सियाही से लिखी है तूने जाने कितनों की लव स्टोरियां। केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया, रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगाऊं, दिन बीते सारा तेरी फिक्र में, रैन सारी तेरी खैर मनाऊं। केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया, रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगाऊं, दिन बीते सारा तेरी फिक्र में, रैन सारी तेरी खैर मनाऊं। पतझड़ के मौसम में भी रंगी चनारों जैसी झनके सन्नाटों में, तू वीणा के तारों जैसी। सदियों से भी लंबी ये मन की अमावस्या है, और तू फुलझड़ियों वाले त्योहारों जैसी। चंदा भी दीवाना है तेरा, जलती है तुझसे सारी चकोरियां, काजल की सियाही से लिखी है तूने जाने कितनों की लव स्टोरियां। केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया, रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगाऊं, दिन बीते सारा तेरी फिक्र में, रैन सारी तेरी खैर मनाऊं। केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया, रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगाऊं, दिन बीते सारा तेरी फिक्र में,
really great song there. Hetal, did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, it was so wonderful. It really took me to a nice ride.
Right, so Hetal, I'm going to now put you on the spot. Last 2 weeks, I've been narrating some interesting stories. I did one on Raj and Reena in week 1. I did a story about my own parents, a nice autobiographic one in the last show. So I think this show, I want to make it a bit light. So I'm sorry to put you on the spot in your first show, but the spotlight is on you to narrate a love story of your choice.
The story is going to be about Sam and Priya.
Samir and Priya. I did read that love story, but you know what? And I didn't know whether you had read it or not, but I deliberately wanted to put you on the spot with that one because that one did tug my heartstrings. Interesting story. But you know what? I'll let you narrate this story today because it sounds better coming from a girl's perspective. Listeners, you will know why once you've heard this story. Over to you, Hetal.
So this story is gonna be about Samir and Priya, and they're gonna be back from India. So this is a romantic love story which weighs back, it's actually gonna be a 10-year-old story, but it still sounds so fresh and so romantic. So it's about Samir, who lives down in South India. So Samir wrote to us about this wonderful love story of his and Priya's. Samir had been studying in a college, he was doing his engineering down in South, whereas Priya was in Mumbai. So as you know, the best place where anybody can meet at a wedding. So both of them just bumped into each other, and Samir had truly fallen deeply in love with her, and it was more like a love in first sight.
I spoke about this in the last show, Yeah, tell me something, Hetal. Do you believe in love at first sight?
Oh yes, after seeing Samir's story, I do believe.
And okay, I've got to ask you this. What are the emotions experienced when one falls in love at first sight? Because I want to see if your perspective matches what my viewpoint is.
Well, I have personally not been in love at first sight, but listening to the story of what you had said earlier on the first episode and reading Samir's story, I think when you see somebody, when it's love at first sight, you get all those rainbows and beautiful flowers ringing bells behind you,
Wow, that's impressive. I like that.
That's what I think.
See, my view is one senses a feeling of excitement, one experiences a feeling of peace, and one just everything's going to be all right. That's the core slogan for that feeling. It's
to be in a happy space.
It's an impressively happy space. Anyway, please don't let me interrupt this love story of Samir and Priya. Let's speak further. They met at a wedding.
Yeah, so they met at a wedding, and Samir instantly fell in love with Priya. So he clearly explained in his email about this beautiful dimple what she had in her cheek, and she had this wonderful curly hair down her shoulders, and the very sight rang bells in Samir's heart right then and there. As you know, there was a little age gap issue which was there, and that was a little problem for Priya because they belong to traditional Indian families where age gap is not really taken.
What was the age gap between them?
So it was a solid 5 years.
5 years is nothing.
Oh yes.
5 years is alright, man. It's that simple.
It's totally alright now, but 10, 15 years back, I think it was a little
See,
much.
I get this. I totally understand. It's interesting because last 2 weeks I've been talking about sort of my beliefs and everything. Now hearing this from you, I'm feeling the need to keep challenging it. I mean, love at first sight, right? So you don't know this person and you suddenly fall head over heels. And yeah, we all experience it, or we all might have experienced it. But he only looked at her. Did he know her family background? Did he know her at all? Or did he just see her at this wedding dressed in her beautiful outfit and he fell for her?
Well, they actually happened to know each other's family, and he was aware that this girl is from this particular state, and he knew that she is already completed her college, and that's how you see. And he had just entered the college, so yes, but he had gone all bonkers over her and would do anything at all to just see her or just to meet her.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling. Anyway, go on. So they met at this wedding.
Yeah.
And they enjoyed time together at the wedding. Did they talk to each other or?
A lot. I think they actually had good dates also during the wedding span, because as you know, Indian wedding goes for around like 4 to 7 days. So that's quite a long time to have enough.
Ideal opportunity to fall in love.
Oh yes.
Wow, Hetal, this is impressive, man. I like this. Carry on.
Yeah. So after the wedding got over, obviously Samir had to get back to his hometown, and then he used to always just look for opportunities to go and meet. So
Okay, so yeah, I know that. Bahana banake.
yeah.
Okay.
So, but the good part here was, as Samir told us, that he had told Priya clearly about his feelings, and Priya herself had said that even she felt the same for him. So, that was a very good part.
So, a love story which spans across 7 days of the wedding preparations.
Yes.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that film Chandni. Have you seen the film Chandni, Sridevi and Rishi Kapoor?
Of course.
How
yes.
he woos her.
Yeah.
I think we need to have a love song from the film Chandni. What do you think?
Of course, yes. Neki or Pooch Pooch, please.
तेरे मेरे होठों पे मीठे मीठे गीत मितवा आगे आगे चले हम पीछे पीछे प्रीत मितवा तेरे मेरे होठों पे मीठे मीठे गीत मितवा आगे आगे चले हम पीछे पीछे प्रीत
beautiful song from the film Chandni, that dream sequence in Switzerland. It just, even if somebody didn't believe in love, they watch that and they fall in love. Don't you agree?
Oh, totally. And the way Sridevi has, you look at her, I think anyone will just fall in love with her.
That I think, and that film, I mean, I know this is not a Bollywood-based program, but that film, it just reignited the whole concept of romance. Not juvenile romance like Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak or Maine Pyar Kiya. Chandni for me does it for me when it comes to pure love.
Of course, yes. It was a beautiful movie.
Lovely movie.
So let's get back to our story. With
I love the way, Hetal, you keep... I'm going off track and you're bringing me back on track again. I think it's good on this program rather than be wishy-washy. Over to you, go on.
Yeah, so we were talking about the wedding getting over and both of them had to get back to their own states. And Samir really didn't miss any opportunity, and in fact he used to bunk his college, get a train and move to Mumbai just to see her.
बातें जरूरी है, तेरा मिलना भी जरूरी, मैंने मिटा देनी ये जो तेरी मेरी दूरी. बातें जरूरी है, तेरा मिलना भी जरूरी, मैंने मिटा देनी ये जो तेरी मेरी दूरी. झूठी है वो राहें सारी दुनिया की, इश्क जहाँ ना चले, तेरा होना मेरा होना क्या होना अगर ना दोनों मिले. तू पहला पहला प्यार है मेरा, तू पहला पहला प्यार है मेरा, तू पहला पहला प्यार है मेरा, तू पहला पहला प्यार है मेरा.
His parents used to think, where exactly is he going and why is he going? He's studying in a college. Even if it was work, they would have thought that okay, he's going on work purposes. Now this was getting really fishy. You see?
Okay.
So that was from Samir's end, and for Priya it was getting little difficult for her because her parents were wooing her or pushing her to get married to somebody. And as majority of us know that if you are from Mumbai, the parents will want you to be in Mumbai and not even leave the state. She had to break it to her mother that she has fallen in love with somebody, and it is somebody who all of them already well aware of, and they knew the families very well. So what Priya did was she wrote a nice long letter to her parents just right before going for a small vacation with her friends. Can you imagine
But
that?
was it actually a vacation with her friends?
Yes, it was with their friends.
It
and
wasn't a
not some
Dilwale
weird-
Dulhania Le Jayenge type of a situation or anything, no?
No.
रुक जाओ दिल दीवाने, पूछूं तो मैं जरा, लड़की है या है जादू, खुशबू है या नशा. रुक जाओ दिल दीवाने, पूछूं तो मैं जरा, हर लड़की है या है जादू, खुशबू है या नशा. पास वो आए तो छूके मैं देखूं जरा, रुक जा ओ दिल दीवाने, पूछूं तो मैं जरा. देखे वो इधर हंस के बेखबर थाम के दिल हम खड़े हैं गुमसुम सी नजर उसकी है मगर होठों पे शिकवे पड़े हैं बात बन जाए तो और बात छेड़ो जरा रुक जा ओ दिल दीवाने पूछूं तो मैं जरा लड़की है या है जादू खुशबू.
So it was vacation with her friends, and before she left that night, she left a lengthy letter to her parents talking about her love story with Samir, and you know that she really wanted to get married to him. And then you know what happens?
Tell me.
When her parents, they got her back the very second day from the vacation. They were so panicked. They literally thought that she had been on a vacation with Samir and they had gone all bonkers. Can you imagine that?
Do you know, just you telling me that is giving me goosebumps, because can you imagine? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't even want to think down that route. Carry on, I'm enjoying the story.
And then you know what happens?
Tell me.
When her parents, they got her back the very second day from the vacation. They were so panicked. They literally thought that she had been on a vacation with Samir and they had gone all bonkers. Can you imagine that?
Do you know, just you telling me that is giving me goosebumps, because can you imagine? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't even want to think down that route. Carry on, I'm enjoying the story.
Yeah. So then Priya was back home, leaving her vacation, not even midway. It just started and she had to be back home. And there was a lot of drama happening because obviously her mom was she just was hell-bent that she is not going to let Priya marry Samir at any cost. The reason being, very, very silly. The reason just being she's going to be out of Mumbai and not be there.
And obviously Samir has that other side that, you know what, he's not going to be a Karjamai and leave his family all the way from the south to go and live in Mumbai.
Yes. Not just that, the other issue was the age gap which I was talking to you about, remember? That Samir...
How old were they?
So I think back then Priya was 25 and Samir was just 20. He just entered his college that time.
Oh, hang on a minute. Okay, so I didn't realise that. Priya was older than Samir.
Yes, she was
Right.
5 years older than
Sorry,
Samir.
I understood that Samir was older. Right,
Not
okay, I'm with
true.
you.
Not true.
And
So-
generally, us men, we take a little bit longer than you females to sort of mature. So I can actually relate to those concerns of Priya's mum.
Yeah, so...
मेरे प्यार की उम्र हो इतनी सनम ओ मेरे प्यार की उम्र हो इतनी सनम तेरे नाम से शुरू तेरे नाम पे खत्म मेरे प्यार की उम्र हो इतनी सनम
मेरे प्यार की उम्र हो इतनी सनम तेरे नाम से शुरू तेरे नाम पे खत्म
तेरी खुशी से है
contains no age, no boundaries, just true love. But will the age difference defy all odds of a successful romance? I am keen to learn where this story goes.
गुलाबी नींदें हो गई जवां मेरे सपने गुलाबी नींदें हो गई जवां लो आके तेरी बाहों में लो आके तेरी बाहों में मैं खो गई कहाँ
हाजिर है जान जाने मन जान की कसम हाजिर है जान जाने मन जान की कसम तेरे नाम से शुरू तेरे नाम पे खत्म
मेरे प्यार की उम्र हो इतनी सनम
Sameer and Priya meet at a wedding. Priya is 25 years old, Sameer is 20 years old. And Priya's parents have just found this letter and all has gone chaotically wrong. In fact, Priya has been called from a trip, a vacation with her friends. At the same time, everything is at a standstill. Where does this love story go from here?
So obviously, being belonging to two Indian families, they did the background check of the families, and they got to know Sameer, from the family wise, when they're going around talking to people, how is this guy and stuff like that, because Priya had made it very clear to his mom, either she's marrying Sameer or she's not getting married at all. So that was a typical filmy scene that was happening in her house. I think it took around a month or probably more than that for her mom to even talk to Priya. She stopped talking to her,
That's really unfortunate. It's very, very
I
sad.
know.
But luckily it only lasted a month.
Yeah, that was good because obviously she loved Priya way too much. So
Okay.
finally, Priya's mom did speak to Priya, but what did she say?
Tell me.
Any guesses?
I don't know. She's either going to say you have my blessing, which I'm really hoping that's what she said.
Unfortunately, no. Priya's mom went to Priya and said, Priya, you are not marrying Sameer. Leave the states alone aside, okay? But you should understand that you're 5 years elder to Sameer. Do you get that? This is what his mom said.
And they're in love by this time.
Way deep in love, yeah.
Do you know what, Hetal? I'm actually feeling Priya's pain just by you telling me. I'm getting goosebumps. I genuinely am.
So it was really, really difficult for Priya, and she was so heartbroken because her mother was everything for her. Obviously, for every child, the parents are everything. But to get somewhere in midway here was a huge task. What do you think Priya should have done that time? What do you think?
That's a difficult one. If I was in that situation, and I'm a bit ziddy myself, so I would have tried to reason, and I would have made it I would have been a bit smart about it and tried to get dad on side, try and get siblings. Does Priya got any siblings?
Oh no, she doesn't.
Only child.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes it a bit more. And at the same time, dad's ladly.
Yeah, but you know what? Priya's mom meant a lot to her, and then Priya called Sameer and told him that I'm sorry, we'll have to call this off.
तू ही रे तेरे बिना मैं कैसे जीऊं आजा रे यूं ही तड़पा न तू मुझको जाने दे इन सांसों में बस जा तू चांद रे आजा दिल की जमीन पे तू चाहते है अगर आके मुझसे मिल जा तू या फिर ऐसा कर धरती से मिला दे मुझको तू ही रहे तेरे बिना मैं कैसे जीऊं आजा रे यूं ही तड़पाना तू मुझको सांसों का देखो तुम पागलपन के आए नहीं इन्हें चैन मुझसे ये बोली मैं राहों में तेरी अपने बिछा दूं ये नैन इन ऊंचे पहाड़ों से जान दे दूंगा मैं गर तुम ना आई कहीं तुम उधर जाना उम्मीद मेरी जो तोड़ो इधर ये जहां छोड़ू मैं मौत और जिंदगी तेरे हाथों में दे दिया रे तू ही रे तेरे बिना मैं कैसे जीऊं आजा रे यूं ही तड़पाना तू मुझको जान रे इन सांसों में बस जा तू चांद रे आजा दिल की जमीन पे तू
I have no words to say to that. I feel Sameer's pain now.
Oh yes, he was devastated and heartbroken to the core. So, you want to move forward with the story?
I'm just thinking of Sameer. And you know what? I'm actually captured in that moment now. Tell me.
So,
Heather, let me interrupt
You know
you
what?
here. Is there a happy ending in this story? Because this is bothering me right now.
Divash, you should have some patience. Okay? You have to listen to the whole story from Sameer's view. So even the listeners can have a little suspense hold. And I want all our listeners to have a mental note of how do you think the story is going to end. Yeah? Is that good?
That's the frustrating part of it, Heather. Come on.
Okay. So let's get on.
I just feel the fact that Sameer has just been told by his beloved, it ain't happening. And I'm not being funny. If that was me, I would be bothered. I would seriously have a big problem. You know what I would have done? I would have turned up to a house. I'll say. But then, anyway, sorry, look, I'm running ahead of the story.
Yes, now you please let me continue. Okay, so now it is Sameer's, the ball was on Sameer's court. Whether he takes the ball and shovel it away somewhere or either just go ahead and play with it. So Sameer was obviously so madly and deeply in love with Priya that he was willing to do anything at all. But Sameer had a very good blessing, you know that? His parents. His parents were so supportive that his parents took this up and they did the part of convincing Priya's parents about agreeing into their relationship. Can you believe that?
And with Orthodox India, as we put it, was this an alliance for boyfriend-girlfriend for now, or was this an alliance for marriage? Because let's bear in mind that if Samir is 20 and Priya's 25, I'm assuming that Samir hasn't even got employment. So how is he going to provide for Priya?
This was what his mother's concern was, in the first place. So that was also the reason being Priya's mom rejecting Samir. But Samir's parents had gone back to Mumbai and spoken to their parents about the financial security, obviously, because they have a well set up business themselves. But the Priya's mom's concern was Samir's age, because he was just 20, Imagine if it's just any other fling and he decides that, okay, this is not going to work out after 2 years. What happens then? You're getting me?
And Priya is matured. She's 25. She's of marriageable age. She's educated.
Yes.
And she's got the pressure from her parents to settle down. So effectively, marriage is inevitably the future.
Yes.
Do you know, Hetal, I'd like to say, if that was my child, I would have the same concerns. Genuinely.
Of course, yes. Priya's mom is not wrong at all from any angle. Okay, because the security of a child is something which any parent would first look for. So then the talks really went on for quite some time, and Samir's parent went back dejected, obviously, because Priya's mom was hell-bent, and she was correct in her point of views. So then, after a few months, once again, Samir's...
I'll edit it out, don't worry.
Okay, yeah. So again, after a few months, Samir's parents saw Samir being so dejected. He was not talking to anybody. He was not going to his university, or he was not even eating his food, for that matter. And it was causing a lot of concern for the parents, because of his health reasons also.
तेरी उम्मीद तेरा इंतजार करते हैं, तेरी उम्मीद तेरा इंतजार करते हैं, है सनम हम तो सिर्फ तुमसे प्यार करते हैं, ऐ सनम हम तो सिर्फ तुमसे प्यार करते हैं.
खोए रहते हैं तेरी यादों में, हम तो खुद को भुलाए बैठे हैं, नाम लिख दी है जिंदगी तेरे, तुझको अपना बनाए बैठे हैं, तुझको अपना बनाए बैठे हैं. प्यार हम जाने जाना एक बार करते हैं, प्यार हम जाने जाना एक बार करते हैं, ऐ सनम हम तो सिर्फ तुमसे प्यार करते हैं, ऐ सनम हम तो सिर्फ तुमसे प्यार करते हैं.
जाने मन हम भी तुम पे जानिसार करते हैं, जाने मन हम भी तुम पे जानिसार करते हैं, ऐ सनम हम तो सिर्फ तुमसे प्यार करते हैं.
Parents were really, really concerned now, and they thought, okay, what should we do now? Because this is not really, going well. So what do you think Samir's parents should have done?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. You know, at one side, son is like underperforming, he's not keeping well, he's head over heels in love, and I get that. I totally understand that.
Yeah. So Samir's parents didn't have any other option. They once again went back to Mumbai to talk to Priya's parents, and they had a big long conversation about, different scenarios of angles of what the marriage can turn out to be so beautiful and not in a negative perspective.
See, Hetal, I mean, and it's really interesting that you mentioned this. See, I'm a firm believer that when two people get together, there is a foresight of what each of them wants. I also believe that both individuals have to work at it, and if and only if there is a confidence that we will overcome all obstacles, age, creed, colour, whatever it is, there's every likelihood that that relationship will work out. There's no room for any doubts. But if you're going to have doubts right at the beginning, that relationship is not going to work. What's your take on that? Would you agree?
Of course, yes.
Yeah?
It's
You've got to have
always,
that confidence.
So, by the end of this meeting, what Priya's parents agreed with Samir's parent is that since Samir is just 20-year-old lad, we don't know how responsible he is. So, they had put a nice condition down. You know what? So Priya's...
Hetal, nothing can be a nice condition. A condition's a condition at the end of the day. It's not nice or not nice. It's just... Anyway, go on. What's the
Okay.
condition?
So the condition was that Priya can see Samir only after a year, provided Samir, along with going to the university, gets hand on a good part-time job and he earns a particular amount of money. Does this story ring some bell?
This
to
is
you?
filmy, this is absolutely filmy.
Yeah. So, but yes, that condition was set.
Right.
And obviously that was a very good thing for Samir's parents as well, because now Samir has no other choice but to attend his university, get in good health and earn money as well to prove himself that he is a responsible person.
दिल दीवाना बिन सजना के माने ना दिल दीवाना बिन सजना के माने ना ये पगला है समझाने से समझे ना ये पगला है समझाने से समझे ना धक धक बोले इत उत डोले दिन रहना ये पगला है समझाने से समझे ना ये पगला है समझाने से समझे ना
So now everything was in Samir's hand. He had to prove himself that he is responsible, and he got all ready. He took this challenge up in a very positive way, and he got himself a good part-time job.
Okay. I feel Samir's pressure. I'm not doing man favoritizing man or anything like that, but
No, it is at the age of 20 when you are so totally madly in love. I think you will go climb any damn mountain out there.
so now in one way this is quite positive because Samir is now focused towards his future. He knows what he has to do to win his beloved. Tell me more.
Yeah. So Samir is rolled his sleeves nicely up and all ready for this wonderful challenge that he has. But obviously every challenge, when there's a wonderful prize across the finish line, I think it is to die for. And that is what Samir was doing. He worked really, really hard for the entire year to fulfill all the conditions of Priya's parents. So Samir, obviously being a young lad going to the university, going for his work, he used to get exhausted many times. And there were nights when he didn't even speak to Priya and he was straight on the bed. And this obviously had led to few fights between them. And obviously half the lovers are, oh
The
my
course of
God.
true love never did run smoothly, is what comes to mind.
Yeah. So this was the point when Priya's mom got hold of this bit of information about, Samir not being able to give time to Priya, and she was pointing out to Priya, now this is what you see. I was talking to you about responsibilities. So this is going to happen to you even post-marriage. Are you willing to take this up?
Wow.
Yeah. And obviously Priya's dad was also there, because the amount set up is obviously quite huge and it would be really difficult for Samir to do it. And you know what? After a year, because obviously it was difficult for Samir to reach that amount. So Priya's father was not really happy about Samir not being able to fulfill his condition. But of course, it was little unfair on Priya's father's side also, because you see, Samir was just a student. And it's obviously not a big money when it comes to part-time jobs. So then there was a little rift between Priya and her father, I'm sorry, my bad. So and then Priya had to explain to his father that this is not fair of him to do this to Samir. So finally, after the conversation, Priya's father agreed that he would give another 6 months to Samir. And
Another 6 months.
Oh yes.
Bichara Samir. I feel bad for Samir,
Yeah, that's a little unfair for him, I agree. But, being a parent, somewhere Priya's parents are also correct, what they are saying. I totally agree to them also. So, yes, 6 months for Samir.
To work harder again.
Yes.
And meanwhile, he's studying, right?
Yes, he's studying.
Okay.
And obviously they had these romantic talks of post the work and all the little small surprises which Samir still kept giving Priya, popping up at her door sometimes, on work. But this time he used to say, I'm going on work basis, which was not true at all.
Great.
And after 6 months, he fulfilled his conditions. Priya's parents are happy, and so are Samir and Priya, who are happily married for, I think it's gonna be 15 years now for them.
Wow.
Yeah,
How beautiful. So
it is.
this guy had to work hard, and I take it Samir is now well qualified. What's he doing in his life these days?
So right now he owns his own factory where he does. So he manufactures automobile parts using his engineering skills, of course.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And his mother-in-law happy with him?
Of course, yes. They are more than happy because...
Are they friends?
Oh, yeah. Oh, now yes, they are. It's been 10 years down the line. And yes, everything has been really, really nice. They have a wonderful son now. So that was a beautiful and happy
And
ending.
how old is wonderful son?
His son, 6 years old.
ले चले डोलियों में तुम्हें गर इरादा करो उंगलियों में पहन लो ये रिश्ता और वादा करो
हुआ 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 हुआ
ले चले डोलियों में तुम्हें गर इरादा करो उंगलियों में पहन लो ये रिश्ता और वादा करो
हुआ 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 हुआ
know what, Hetal, that is an absolutely beautiful and inspiring story. So all lovebirds, you know what? You have to work hard to win your love. And I think that's the lesson we can learn from this program, from this story.
And I'm sure Samir, the name has changed of course, but I'm sure Samir is listening to the story, and I hope I have done justification to your story and your love.
Samir, I'm so proud that you wrote in, and you know, it just goes to show that the course of true love is never smooth, but it will always win if one has confidence in it. Hetal, thank you for narrating that beautiful story of Samir and Priya. Priya's happy, Samir is happy, they got a 6-year-old boy, he's running a business, and just think, her parents had all these worries and it all won. Hetal, I'd really like to thank you today for coming onto the program. Listeners, I think you're all going to agree that Hetal has done a fine job considering it's her first program today. She will be co-hosting with me every Sunday between 11 o'clock and midnight, so do stay tuned on your BHF radio. Hetal, I must ask you one thing, okay? In all of this, how have you found presenting today?
Oh, it was wonderful, and obviously I really have to thank Samir for giving me this wonderful story to narrate to our listeners.
Listeners, I must share this with you. Hetal was blushing while she was telling this story and just had this massive... Hang on a minute, did Samir... did Samir bribe you or something? Or something?
That's a little secret. It's under the carpets. I can't tell you.
No, absolutely brilliant. And as I said, our listeners will look at things from Samir's and Priya's perspective. You know what? I must ask you one thing, Hetal. To what lengths would you expect your Romeo to go towards you?
Well, I really need to be practical. Okay. Obviously, I can ask for stars and climb the mountains. But yes, all I really want is transparency and respecting each other's.
And this is, I guess, what I expect as well. I mean, in any such relationship, one should always have truth, honesty, integrity, trust. I think are core components, but also confidence. As many of our listeners will have experienced in life, whatever age you are, whether you've been married 20, 30, 40 years, whether you're newly married, whether you're boyfriend, girlfriend, the course of true love can be tested. If you have that confidence, that forward thinking that things can work between you guys, they will. At the same time, one has to make compromises. Sometimes it's a bit of give and take, but at the same time, it's feeling that peace and being able to give and to take at the same time without feeling that any resentment or animosity that I'm giving too much. And sometimes relationships do happen to get imbalanced, but it's about finding the balance again, which makes that a strong relationship. It is with this in mind that I would like to conclude today's program. Once again, Hetal, welcome to the Love Express team, and thank you so much for narrating that beautiful story. One thing I must say, listeners, is that Hetal will be co-presenting this program going forward, and I actually have the opportunity to take a break when I want, knowing that my show is in safe hands. So thank you very much indeed, Hetal. Anything you'd like to say to our listeners before we leave?
Thank you so much for listening to both of us, and I'm just looking forward to more stories coming in from your end. So it's gonna be Tumhari Story, Meri Zubani. So please email all of us. Whoever wants to share their story, email us at divashjoshi@gmail.com. That is DIVASHJOSHI@gmail.com.
And listeners, we will have a personalised email address. It's just in the process of being put together at the moment. So you will be able to write into the Love Express. And look, not only do we want to hear your stories, we want to hear your songs. What were those together songs that brought you and your beloveds together? And also talk to us about those romances which didn't happen. Not all romances do reach the finish line. Some of them do break up, and they're very heartbreaking as well. We want to know from you. Remember, this program is made by you for you. We are just presenting it. And as I said in the beginning of my program, and I pledge this for this entire series of the Love Express programs, I want to fill each and every listener with as much love as they can, as there is existence in the world, because I truly believe that true love and true romance resides within each and every one of us. With that in mind, I'd like to say goodbye to you now, and I will be with you guys later on this week on our other programs, but in particular the Love Express will be presented by myself and Hetal next Sunday evening between 11 and 1.
Thank you, everybody. I'll see you soon, the coming week, with another beautiful romantic love story from one of our listeners. I'm looking forward to your emails. Thank you so much. All of you have been wonderful audience. I'll see you again soon. Have a lovely weekend.
Goodbye, listeners. May your God be with you always.